You know the, like, Universal monsters, the classic ones?
Mm-hmm.
You know who I think they all hate out of the group if they're, like, a clique? The creature from the Black Lagoon.
I was gonna say that!
Because it's true. You know that Frankenstein and Dracula probably are eating lunch together.
Probably.
And they're probably talking behind his back like, look at the fucking creature from the Black Lagoon.
Right, it's a little bit of racism.
He doesn't even speak English.
No, like, if you're gonna come here, you speak monster.
And this is coming from, like, Dracula, who is Transylvanian. He at least had the sense of mind to learn, you know, Bela Lugosi speak. Creature from the Black Lagoon, he's the Aquaman of monsters. You know what's scary about him?
What?
He might get you damp.
So his power is equal to that of modern-day Ron Jeremy.
If Ron Jeremy was the creature from the Black Lagoon, I'd be more scared, because at least then I'd have the fear of his ginormous hedgehog cock.
It's so big.
Ron Jeremy, to me, looks like if Super Mario was a real person, that's what he would look like.
But decided to do porn?
Yeah.
Here we go. It's the Bible reloaded, logic explosion, like Jesus and Moses, but it's Hugo and Jake. The Bible is jaded, and most of it taken, so get educated with Hugo and Jake. Pull up a pew and stop what you're doing, it's Bible reloaded time. They call it debated, the theist will hate it, I'm talking to taken, but it's Hugo and Jake. So I'm with the show then, it's not candy coated, it's the Bible reloaded, with Hugo and Jake, with Hugo.
Hello everyone, I'm Hugo.
And my name is Jake.
And this is the Bible Reloaded,
My mom calls me Pookie.
the Atheist Bible Study. So thanks everyone for coming back. We have yet another story for you this week, but before we do that, we have yet another $40 Patreon donation that we have to give a little shout out for, because whenever you do $40 for us on Patreon, provided you don't have just a ridiculous organization that we hate,
Right.
we're going to go ahead and shout it out on the show. And today we have a really worthwhile one that I was aware of even before they asked us to do this, and I think it's nice to shout them out on the show anyway.
Absolutely.
So here we go. This week we have Doctors Without Borders.
Loyal fan Jadaven is the one who actually donated the $40 on the Patreon, and because he's such an awesome, or she, I guess, is such an awesome person, they decided Doctors Without Borders is the cause. I don't really have anything for personal gain, and that's awesome. I love it when you guys do that. Obviously, if you had something, we'd do it. But this is the second time we've had someone do a selfless promotion which is just a great thing.
They're so much better than us.
I know, they're just great people. Here's actually the pitch that they gave us, and I didn't have to write a damn thing for this. So Doctors Without Borders is essentially a secular, politically unaffiliated charity that provides medical assistance in areas hit by natural or man-made disasters, disease outbreaks, and armed conflicts, especially where the people are unable to actually afford medical care. They pride themselves on being guided solely on medical ethics, which is nice because it means they can go wherever they are needed and help whoever needs it, and that practically anyone is welcome to provide assistance. So this is an amazing cause, and again, on episodes like this where there's a charity or something, in lieu of donating on Patreon towards us, I'd rather you put $1 or whatever towards this charity.
Yeah.
So there's a link.
So there's going to be a link either on the screen if YouTube lets me do it. I don't know if they will. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Or if not, there'll be one down in the comments. So check those both out, and you can go ahead and help donate to Doctors Without Borders. It's a really good cause. Like, regardless of if they had told us to do this, genuinely, I think it's a very good cause.
Right,
so
yeah.
Check that out. And without further ado, let's go ahead and hit up this episode with the thing we do with the Bible, where we talk about it.
We do that still?
Oh, sometimes.
Oh, okay. So what happened last time?
Well, last time what happened was David's son Absalom had taken over the country from David by gaining popular support, and David was like, this is bullshit, left with his posse.
But he left the 10 most important people to watch the palace.
The concubines.
Right.
And the concubines got raped by David's son.
Raped is a strong word.
They're concubines, so they got sexed. They got sexed by David's sons. They may or may not have liked it, but that was their lot in life. So whatever. David goes to war with him, but only because he wants his seat back in power. David actually kind of seems to stay out of the fighting in this one. He has his men go fight for him.
Yeah.
Absalom gets killed. And now we're going to see the reaction David has to his son being killed in a war which he totally was okay with fighting in. Just a hint. It's going to be hypocritical. And we're going to talk about how fucking hypocritical it is. So today we begin in 2 Samuel chapter 18, verse 19. David mourns. It's a good title. It's very simple. I get what's going to happen here. He's going to mourn.
Most likely.
If he didn't, that'd be a good twist. Directed by M. Night. Now Ahimaaz, son of Zadok, said, "Let me run and take the news to the king that the Lord has vindicated him by delivering him from the hands of his enemies."
That's a shitty sentence.
"You are not the one to take the news today," Joab told him. Okay.
They fight about it? I don't...
"You may take the news another time, but you must not do so today because the king's son is dead." So he's
like, you are not delicate enough, sir.
Then Joab said to a Cushite, "Go, tell the king what you have seen." The Cushite bowed down before Joab and ran off.
See, he doesn't get a name because he's just he's like a darker hue of tan.
Yeah.
So you'd be a little more racist.
I always like in any sort of mythology the idea of the messenger running like miles and miles or kilometers and kilometers, whatever, to go and deliver a message and whatever. Like really, they'd probably have to stop at some point.
They had runners in some areas and it was more efficient because of the way the terrain is, but a lot of them had like mounts. So it just depends on the where they're at.
You just gotta run and deliver messages all the time. Greek mythology.
I assume they use donkeys for Hebrews.
Drop dead and invent marathons, whatever. Ahimaaz, son of Zadok, again said to Joab, "Come what may, please let me run behind the Cushite." But Joab replied, "My son, why do you want to go? You don't have any news that will bring you a reward."
Yeah, why would you want to do anything that didn't benefit yourself?
Basically, he wants to be an asshole.
Yeah.
He wants to go be the guy to tell David his son's dead.
Right.
He said, "Come what may, I want to run." That sounds like the beginning of a movie about a runner. It's very motivational.
Like a Disney film with Kevin Costner starring other Mexican kids.
I've never heard of this movie. I have no idea.
Really? It's a new movie coming out. Yeah, Kevin Costner inspires Mexican kids to do cross country.
I don't think Kevin Costner could inspire sugar to dissolve in coffee if he tried his hardest. Like Kevin Costner has nothing going for him as far as motivational skills.
Costner was he just played baseball movies.
He was in a world where literally there was nothing but water, and he just did not give a shit. He just liked to pee in his machine and drink it. That's all he gave a shit about.
Tin Cup.
He didn't care.
For the Love of the Game. Field of Dreams.
If they wanted IMDb, they would have typed in IMDb into their bar, and then they would have gone there.
And then they would have got the list of...
Yes, but we're not that. So Joab said, "Run." Then Ahimaaz ran by the way of the plain and outran the Cushite. He was swift. He was like Forrest Gump fast. Like you have to be a little retarded to be that fast because so the signals can't get to your brain to say, whoa, slow down.
He doesn't get a runner's high. He just doesn't get pain.
Well, David was sitting between the inner and outer gates. The watchman went up to the roof of the gateway by the wall. As he looked out, he saw a man running alone. The watchman called out to the king and reported it. The king said, "If he is alone, he must have good news."
That doesn't make any sense. That does not follow in the least.
Or everyone else got wiped out and he's just like, "I'm the only one." Sorry. The runner came closer and closer. Then the watchman saw another runner, and he called down to the gatekeeper and said, "Look, another man running alone." The king said, "He must be bringing good news too."
David, wait a second. What's the distance in which they're not running together, though?
I feel like he's trying to kind of rationalize it, because it's like, oh, one person, it must be good news. Oh, there's a second guy. Yeah, it's even more good news.
Yeah,
It's like, no, that means there's two of them. It's like that episode of Futurama where they're in the beepy chair, and they're like, one beep means guilty, two beeps means not guilty, and they say, "How do you plead?" "Beep, beep," and he goes, "Yes, guilty." The watchman said, "It seems to me that the first one runs like Ahimaaz, son of Zadok."
I'm pretty good at discerning people's gaits. And that is the Ahimaaz, son of Zadok one.
Yep, that's the one. "He's a good man," the king said. "He comes with good news." He's setting himself up to fail here. It could have been good news at this point, but he's just too high on this good news idea.
He's overselling it to himself.
Then Ahimaaz called out to the king, "All is well." He bowed down before the king with his face to the ground and said, "Praise be to the Lord your God. He has delivered up those who lifted their hands against my lord the king." The king asked, "Is the young man Absalom safe?" Ahimaaz answered, "I saw great confusion just as Joab was about to send the king's servant and me, your servant, but I don't know what it was."
Oh.
Just let's keep it from David. We know he lashes out. The king said, "Stand aside and wait here." So he stepped aside and stood there.
Oh, that's good.
Then the Cushite arrived and said, "My lord the king, hear the good news. The Lord has vindicated you today by delivering you from the hand of all who rose up against you."
It sounds strikingly like the last person.
The king asked the Cushite, "Is the young man Absalom safe?" The Cushite replied, "May the enemies of the Lord the king and all who rise up to harm you be like that young man."
Ooh, that's...
Dark. The king was shaken.
That's...
He went up to the room over the gateway and wept. As he went, he said, "Oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom, if only I had died instead of you, oh Absalom, my son, my son." Okay, so David, you consciously made the decision to go to war with him.
Right.
You knew this was a likely possibility. Not just like a little, but you were like, you sent waves of soldiers at him.
Yeah.
Like, sure, maybe they could have captured him, but probably not. That's not your track record at all.
Yeah, they just don't have the skill set because they've not had to keep people alive before.
No, they don't know how to do it. It's like when you really train your one-hand skill in Skyrim, but you don't train like Illusion. It's like you know how this fight's going to end. Stabbing 70 bandits, stealing 3 gold and some bread. Now we move on to chapter 19, which shows David, kind of a huge bitch.
Yeah.
Joab was told, "The king is weeping and mourning for Absalom, and for the whole army the victory that day was turned into mourning, because on that day the troops heard it said, 'The king is grieving for his son.'"
Hebrew mourning is weird though. It's like it's all shared and it's out of solidarity and it's not really meant.
Like 90% of the days everyone must be in mourning because they're like, the neighbor 3 towns over died. We all
Right.
gotta mourn.
They had a lot of ripped shirts.
The men stole into the city that day as men steal in who are ashamed when they flee from battle. You know, like that, because it happens all the time. The king covered his face and cried aloud, "Oh, my son Absalom! Oh, Absalom, my son, my son!" He's just a broken record on repeat now. That's all he can say. It's like Groot, but it's more depressing because it's about a dead son. Then Joab went into the house to the king and said, "Today you have humiliated all your men who have just saved your life and the lives of your sons and daughters and the lives of your wives and concubines, especially the concubines. You love those who hate you and hate those who love you. You have made it clear today that the commanders and their men mean nothing to you. I see that you would be pleased if Absalom was alive today and all of us were dead. Now go out and encourage your men. I swear by the Lord that if you don't go out, not a man will be left with you by nightfall. This will be worse for you than all the calamities that have come on you from your youth till now."
Oh wow, Joab is his Eleanor Roosevelt.
Yeah.
He's calling the shots.
He's like, "Get your shit together, David." Not only that, but all the calamities David has faced, that's a lot. That includes a giant, several insurrections, a fatherly figure trying to spear you like 7 times, pooping in a cave,
Do you
all
think,
that
do you
stuff.
think he's as sexy as Eleanor Roosevelt though?
Sexier.
There's very few people that can match the unbridled sex appeal of Eleanor Roosevelt.
So the king got up and took his seat in the gateway. When the men were told the king is sitting in the gateway, they all came before him. Meanwhile, the Israelites had fled to their homes.
Because they're like, "Oh shit, David, not in the greatest mood. We know what happens. It's usually to the Dan folks."
Throughout the tribes of Israel, all the people were arguing amongst themselves, saying, "The king delivered us all from the hands of our enemies. He is the one who rescued us from the hands of the Philistines, but now he has fled from the country to escape from Absalom. And Absalom, whom we anointed to rule over us, has died in battle. So why do you say nothing about bringing the king back?" What a weird statement. They're making it seem as though the king left just because, and then they appointed Absalom, but really what the Bible told us happened is
Absalom usurped him for
Yeah.
a short period of time.
so I don't know what they're trying to get across. Maybe just that the people aren't informed.
Could be.
I don't know what they're trying to get across.
They're still in just a dizzy from the stank, from the concubine stank.
Yeah, that'll
I
happen.
mean, that's really distracting. Like,
It is.
Like, you know, going into that day, like, oh, Absalom usurped David, but then he fucks 10 concubines on a roof, and you're like, how did we get here?
I don't know.
How did we...
I would say he usurped him, but look how dominant he was. It was probably consensual, unlike the concubine sex. King David sent this message to Zadok and Abiathar, the priests. Ask the elders of Judah, why should you be the last to bring the king back to his palace? Since what is being said throughout Israel has reached the king at his quarters, you are my relatives, my own flesh and blood, so why should you be the last to bring back the king? And say to Amasa, are you not my own flesh and blood? May God deal with me, be it ever so severely, if you are not the commander of the army for my life in place of Joab. So this next part I'm just going to summarize because it's boring and it's very, it's almost set up very bullet pointy, so I'll just go through basically what happens. Firstly, what happens is, the priests and them decide to start taking David back to his palace, as they're supposed to, and they all start going there, and along the way he meets different characters that he met on his way out, and I think it's a story that's sort of trying to, I don't know how to put it. It bookends it, it makes it very symmetrical, and sort of shows...
very Hebrew.
It shows changes in some characters, yeah. Firstly, we have Shimei, who, when David was leaving, was throwing stones at him because he was related to Saul. And he was very mad that David had killed Saul, and he was throwing stones at him and swearing at him as he was leaving. However, on his way back now, for some reason he's had a complete change of heart. I'm assuming, really, it's because David's coming back into power, and he's like, oh, fuck, I probably shouldn't have fucked with him. But in the actual Bible, it's implied that it's actually a change of heart, and he's like, oh, no, I changed my mind for no reason, whatever. And then some of David's men are like, shouldn't we still kill him? Because, you know, he was an asshole, and David's like, no, I'll show restraint here for some reason, even though I never do elsewhere. And it's a story, I assume, about redemption. It's a redemption story.
Sure.
The second part comes when Mephibosheth comes...
Crippled kid.
Yeah, crippled kid comes down, and David's like, why the fuck didn't you go with me when I was banished?
I'm crippled. He had a hard time getting there.
He doesn't say that, though. So basically, it comes down to David just like, why the fuck? And the guy's like, he doesn't mention his crippledness, but you'd think he would. Like, I was crippled. I couldn't flee the city with you. I'm crippled, douchebag.
Well, this is the guy who got told you can sit at my table forever, and he told him over and over like 6 times, and then he sat down at the table, and then David leaves. He's like, well, I'm just gonna chill by the table, I think.
Yeah. So, that's all pretty much that happens. He meets a couple other people, but it's really not relevant. They're small things, and it's always the same story. It's just about redemption and sort of forgiveness when people stray, essentially.
Sounds more like they're just kind of sucking his dick now because he's king again.
Yeah, basically.
And he's David, so he has kind of a reputation for...
It's a story about brown-nosing when you get down to it.
Yeah.
But that section does end with something that will be important in the next episode. And there are 2 groups of people traveling with David at this moment. The people from... They call it Israel, and then they say the people of Judah. And they're going to have some disagreements about what's going to happen, and that'll play into the next episode. And this starts in verse 41 of chapter 19. Soon all the men of Israel were coming to the king and saying to him, why did our brothers, the men of Judah, steal the king away and bring him into his household across the Jordan together with all his men? All the men of Judah answered the men of Israel, we did this because the king is closely related to us. Why are you so angry about this? Have we eaten any of the king's provisions? Have we taken anything for ourselves? Then the men of Israel answered to the men of Judah, we have 10 shares in the king. We have a greater claim to David than you have. Why then do you treat us with contempt? Weren't we the first to speak of bringing back our king? So they're like fighting over the king. They're like, he's our king. He's our king. I don't know.
Wait. Can he only rule one or the other, or can he rule both simultaneously?
I think they're just trying.
Is it like a perk thing?
They're trying to make claim to who he belongs to, sort of in the familiar sense. If that
makes sense, yeah.
You know what I mean?
But why? Like, is there a benefit to that in some way?
I don't know.
Because they don't discuss like what they get out of it.
I think it's one of those things that would be more apparent to you
if we were Hebrews.
If we were Hebrew
2,000 years ago.
Yeah, it probably makes cultural. Yeah. It makes sense in the cultural context.
It's probably similar to the inheritance and how property has been working throughout the whole Old Testament.
Probably. But the men of Judah pressed their claims even more forcefully than the men of Israel.
So they won?
So shit's gonna happen next time with kind of a rebellion. But we'll talk about that then. And before we go, we do have to talk about some shoutouts, because we haven't done them in a very long time. We have the shoutouts for the people on Patreon. So if you're a Patreon, some of them are going to get done today. Not all of them, because there's a bunch, so we're going to split them up between this one and a couple more episodes.
Yep. And the reason we have been waiting so long is because we felt bad that we didn't have our Bibles sent to us yet. And so we just kind of stopped that for a little bit and
Yeah.
waited. And so this will be not necessarily a regular thing, but we'll do it probably quarterly because there's just so many of you that stick around for a long period of time, which is amazing. And you might shift around in the brackets, which is also totally fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the highest donators and work our way down. And these are the people that wanted prizes. Some people actually have donated more than this, but have chosen not to get anything out of it. They're just like, I want to support Jake and Hugo, and that's fine. And you can do that. Like, say if you're worried about being your name said aloud on the internet, I get it. Yeah. You can do these things without us saying your name. Because I know some people, no one knows you're an atheist. So,
firstly, this name I'm not sure how to pronounce it. John Buchan? Buchan?
It's probably...
Buchan.
You said it was from Scotland.
I believe this was from Scotland.
John Buchan.
Yeah, so thank you.
Sound like Scottish? I don't know.
You're like...
or was I Irish?
I assume you look like Groundskeeper Willie almost exactly.
So John Willie Buchan.
Buchan. I don't know.
Thanks for your $40 donation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. The next is Tristan Quinn. And, that's an American person.
Yeah, that's not as interesting. Why aren't you? You should be foreign so we can make, probably kind of pseudo-racist jokes.
Tristan the Pistachio Quinn.
Is that her name now?
Or him.
Okay.
Tristan is also a boy's name.
Is it?
So this person could be...
Oh, okay,
Could
sure.
be whatever.
The pistachio, you don't know what it's like until you get inside it.
Exactly, just like Tristan.
Yeah, there you go.
And then from the beginning of the episode, the shout-out we did earlier, Jadaven, the doctor.
A doctor? Dr.
No,
Jadaven?
doctor's a border thing.
Oh, okay, sure.
Jadaven the doctor.
You're a doctor now. That's legally binding, so make sure you tell that next time you apply at like a hospital or something.
In our $15 bracket, which we have changed to now get a limited edition TBR t-shirt.
Woo!
But these people are still getting Bibles.
Yeah. Austin Fulmer. Better than like Austin Halfmer, I assume.
Austin Fulmer, because you are from Texas. So your nickname is also your first name. Cole Lachman, also from Texas.
Also from Texas. What's up with you Texans?
I don't know.
It's probably really hot there today. That's a bummer. Try not to die.
What's his nickname?
Oh, Cole Brooklyn.
Cole Brooklyn?
Yeah.
That sounds like a sleuth.
Because I would go Tex, but that's too obvious, so we're gonna go Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Marianne Blair, like the Blair Witch.
Marianne the Witch Blair.
Sure.
You could
Solid.
wrestle. You could wrestle with that one. You can keep that. Matthew Ward from Valparaiso, which is that's a pretty cool place. I'm sure. I've never been.
I've never heard of it, but I bet it's just awesome.
I wonder where that is.
I don't know.
So Matthew, the cartographer Ward.
Sure.
Now you sound like a wizard.
Rachel Lynn.
We're keeping it there. It sounds like a porn star.
Sure.
Is that a porn star? I don't know porn stars.
Rachel the porn star Lynn.
I guarantee Rachel Lynn is a porn thing. That's got to be connected. I'm just gonna take a stab at this and go Andrew Cheape.
I have no idea. What the fuck is that? Andrew the shitty last name Cheape.
Cheape. Shope. It could be Shope.
Shope.
Andrew the shitty last name Shope. Okay, this is the coolest one. And I'm going to have to go Horikawa Otane.
That's pretty rad.
We don't need a nickname for you because you are obviously...
You're like a ninja.
What's going to happen is your hometown village is going to be destroyed. And then years later, your amnesia will be cured and you'll find out that you're the chosen one. And then you will go on a quest to save the world from, like, the guy responsible.
I'd get it.
It would be like pretty much a Sephiroth of now.
Okay, and Rebecca Beard.
Hi, Rebecca. You're Rebecca the cleanly shaven beard.
I would have said Rebecca the mustache beard.
Pick one.
Go with mine.
Mustache beard is kind of funny.
Mine's better.
It's like a beard, and then in the middle of the beard, it has a mustache.
Yeah. So, is that it? That it for now?
That's good.
Yeah, that's enough shoutouts for this week. We'll do some more next week, and it'll be good. So, thanks everyone. You can always follow us on Twitter at Bible Reloaded.
You can follow Hugo at Hugo Reloaded.
You can always subscribe. There's a button right there. Look at it. Shiny.
Remember, don't do the Patreon. Please visit Doctors Without Borders. We have links in places.
Yeah, and then
either-
next week you can do the Patreon.
Yeah, absolutely. But this week, don't do that. Help some people out, and they can get supplies and help some unfortunate folks around the world.
Totes. So, thanks everyone. Until next time, I'm Hugo.
And my name is Jake.
And this has been the Bible Reloaded.
But my mom calls me Pookie.